Welcome to the Love Your Work Life podcast, where you will get encouragement, strategies, all the things you need to love your work life. This is about transformational, strength-based coaching for career, for leadership, for life. I'm your host, Elissa Shuck. Let's get started. So I was listening to a podcast episode the other day, and I have some favorites. I'm sure you do too. And this phrase has kind of stuck with me, and that is, everything is supporting our awakening. What does that mean? I've recently launched a course inside Strategic Leadership Lab that I've titled Conscious Leadership, with kind of the subtitle for Culture Excellence. Because I'm fascinated by this idea of consciousness, of an awareness, of an awakening, deepening levels of awareness so that we're making better decisions. We're enjoying life more. That we're not just aware of the news and the disruption of the world we live in, but we're actually awakening to something deeper. We're awakening to something below the tumultuous waves at the top of the ocean. And we're going down deeper into something that is not disrupted by the wind and the environment up top. Something that feels more constant, something that is an underlying strength that we all have. I posted on LinkedIn the other day that an outlook we could have about a job search is that we're not the same person when we get to the other side. We find out that we're actually pretty darn resilient. We find out that we're capable of more, or we're capable of things that we didn't give ourselves credit for, simply because a job search forces us to look deeper, to look for ease, look for certainty, look for the ways that we are adding value that maybe an employer has taken for granted or that we have taken for granted inside of ourselves. That's that deeper spot in the ocean where it's quiet, it's not stormy. It's still part of the ocean. There's still craziness going on the surface. But when you get far enough below the surface, it doesn't rock your world anymore. You can have that quiet assuredness that everything's going to be okay. It's that kind of self-awareness that sustains us. And it's not that we're going to have smooth sailing all the time. We got to kind of be part of the surface, right? It's all one thing. It's all connected. So we're going to encounter rockiness and waves and storms. But here's the other thing. Those storms are still serving us. We can still choose to believe that even the storms, everything is serving the purpose of our continued awakening to who we really are. Which brings me to another word that was brought up in the podcast episode, and that's the Japanese word kenshō, which is a concept of an initial insight followed by an integration. Insight, integration. Insight, integration. It's these little moments, these tiny little bits and pieces that we get from something happening, like losing your job, like discovering that you're getting your validation from outside yourself instead of inside yourself. Those little moments where we get to observe something, where we get to actually put into play the observer effect from quantum physics, which posits that as soon as a particle is observed, it changes direction. It moves differently. As soon as you observe something in yourself, you've just changed your direction. And if you pay attention to what you've observed, then you can leverage that. Because now you're onto yourself. Once you've observed resilience in yourself, you can't unsee that. Now your brain will try to throw you into scare mode, survival mode, all those primitive brain functions. But once you see your value, you can't unsee it. And if you try to, you're actually lying to yourself. Imagine for a minute that every time you discount yourself, every time you doubt yourself, every time you shrink back, that you're actually lying to yourself. Because the story you're telling is counter to who you really are. Counter to that quiet strength, that ease and certainty, the integration of you and the things that and the ways that you have grown because of what you've experienced. Career, leadership, and life are the underpinnings of the work I do because I feel they're so integrated. I don't feel like we have to have this or that. We don't have to have a super successful career and a personal life that is unfulfilling. We could actually have this and that. What if we just decided we can have it all because we've got the capacity for it all? Because underneath the waves and the craziness and all the stuff going on the surface of life, that there's a deeper awareness, that what's going on in the surface does not disturb. This is the goal. This is the journey to say, yeah, there's going to be waves, but there's also a certain something that's below, that's just floating in certainty, being resilient, asking the right questions, like, how is this serving me? How does this difficulty that I've encountered serve me and my bigger purpose? Such good questions to ask. Curiosity is such a powerful, powerful mindset to have. You can decide to be curious about any little thing that's happening, any big thing that's happening, because curiosity causes this little pause, causes this little moment of, I wonder. And then we get the chance in that little space that we've created for ourselves to be deliberate and strategic about the meaning that we give anything and everything in our lives. That's why this little phrase, everything is in support of my awakening, I think is pretty powerful. Because it kind of means that even all the stuff that's out of your control is ultimately in support of you becoming a better version of yourself, becoming more awakened, more self-aware, more conscious about the gifts that you already have, about new ways to channel those gifts and opportunities to try new things. to give yourself permission to go for the job that you really want instead of the one that you keep repeating or the one you think you can get. There's a difference there. Going for the job you really want versus going for the job that you think you can get. Because I have a feeling if you really want it, then it means you've already got something. You've already got strengths and characteristics and traits and skills that support you having that job. And going for it will uncover more of what you already have, and it will inspire development should there be things that you need to add. Not because something's missing, but because you're growing. When we become more and more of ourselves, it's not because we're removing things that are not working about ourselves. It means that we are revealing more of who we really are below the surface. What if everything is supporting you becoming the best version of yourself? How does that change the perspective? Popping into my head right now is the time I got demoted. It was rough, let me tell you. Thinking about myself back then, I was a workaholic. I was trying anything and everything to make business work in a situation with a lot of things out of my control. And the end result of all that was me getting demoted. And I remember at the time my boss saying to me, someday you're going to look back on this and realize it's one of the best things that's ever happened to you. And my friends, in that moment, that was not how I was feeling, and I kind of wanted to lash out. I was like, what are you talking about? But looking back now, she was absolutely right. Because that demotion set me on a completely different path that brought me to where I am today. I'm not saying that everything you encounter, that you have to become suddenly positive and ignore it and pretend it's not happening. No. It's okay to see it for what it is, but to also ask a question that helps you go a little deeper. What if this could lead to something else? Don't close your mind to the questions that take you deeper. It's okay to feel the pain. It's okay to feel the disappointment. Those are just human emotions. Not healthy to push them down or resist them. The best thing you can do is acknowledge without indulging, and then get curious. Because what if everything is in support of your deeper levels of awareness and capacity and resilience and being the amazing person you are? All right, my friends, I'll talk to you again soon. If you like listening to this podcast, I invite you to visit the Love Your Work Life website at elissashuck-careercoach.com. On the site, you're going to find free resources and information about all of my coaching programs, everything you need to land a great job, advance your career, and lead and build an awesome team. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn.